Hi everyone, Nikita Udayev here from Udayev School, and in this video, you will learn how to properly choose a computer for yourself in order to painlessly work as a designer. But not just which desktop computer to choose, but also laptop so that you can travel and work comfortably while designing. Also in this video, we're going to talk about the minimum requirements for programs like Figma, Adobe Photoshop, After Effects, Tilda, and others, the main programs that you need to make good quality design. We will go over all the technical parameters that are needed for your laptop, computer, and monitor so that your work can be done successfully with no lagging and no bugs. Also in this video, we will look at different price points, low, medium, and high. Since you, our viewers who are choosing a computer, laptop, or monitor, might be high rollers or on a tight budget, we want each and every one of you to find something perfect for yourselves. So, we've compared different tiers, low, medium, and high. So, enjoy watching and please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Let's get to the video. Alright guys, you're about to see the first slide. Let's talk about computers for web design. Let's go! The main programs for a designer and their minimal requirements for comfortable work. We will look at Figma, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe After Effects. Although that one's not really for design, it's for animation, but we'll cover that too. What about Figma? Let's check and find out the minimal requirements for Figma, web and desktop versions. In case you don't know, the web version is when you work in your browser. For example, with Figma, you can work directly in the browser, but I don't advise that you do it. It's better to download the desktop version for your computer. For the browser, this needs to be the latest version there is. The standard I recommend is Google Chrome. The RAM of your computer or laptop needs to be about 8 GB. The platform, Windows 64-bit, preferably Windows 10 or Mac OS. Moving on. Now, what's going to make you sad and angry? A giant number of needless tabs. Of course, you can say, no, I need them all, but come on. Unfortunately, you have to get rid of that. Let's move on to this guy. He's quite demanding and particular. You know him and you love him, Adobe Photoshop.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
What does this monster want from us? An Intel processor or AMD 64-bit starting from 2 GHz. For platform, Windows 10, 45-bit version, 1809 or higher. Minimum RAM is about 8 GB, but of course it's better to have 16. In general, the more RAM you've got, the better. Screen resolution has to be full HD, which is 1920 by 1080 pixels. Photoshop eats 4 GB and more. Therefore, video memory, or VRAM for this monster should be 4 GB and up. Adobe After Effects.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
What does this guy eat? Basically, all the same as his brother, but he will need much more disk space. Well, not only that. Since this is the program for rendering, animation, and all of the heavy work, you're going to need as much RAM as you can get, as much video memory and disk space just to work faster too. Of course, After Effects will open even on a mediocre computer, but the size of video memory, RAM, processor, and how much it can take, really all of that is what defines how comfortable you're going to be working with such a program, so the more, the better. Now, we're talking about all of this a bit vaguely, but further in the video, you're going to see all the parameters you need in order to work on design using these programs. So come on, Mademoiselle Tilda. Here, everything's pretty easy. You just need to follow the same rules as with Figma. Do not litter your browser with tabs. It's getting hot. What does the laptop of a designer's dream need to be like? Just 5 criteria. We need a big screen, minimum full HD. As I've said before, that's 1920 by 1080 pixels. Need color? Gimme 2. What's power, brother? RAM, brother. 16 GB, please. How much space do we need? Disk, SSD. Why SSD and not HDD? Because SSD works much faster. And in general, if your Windows are going to be on SSD and not HDD, then your computer is going to be much faster. It's going to be flash-like. But don't be a cheapskate and buy the cheapest SSD. Keep in mind that when you're buying yourself an SSD disk, you should always check how fast it can process information in the product description. I recommend you buying an SSD at a medium price point. Yeah, don't go for the most expensive one, but also not for the cheapest one. Also very important, a graphics card, 4 GB and higher. We're filming this video in 2021, and I completely understand that a graphics card costs a lot of money, especially considering that miners always provide high demand for that product. Well, not just miners, but also something else. You all know what. Let's get to our steak. Based on our 5 categories, let's choose the best Swiss Army knife in the shape of a laptop. Let's go! We'll cover 3 price points: low, medium, and high. As usual, we'll start with low. Cool low-budget laptops that are suitable only to work with Figma, under 50,000 rubles. Asus X415JA 14-inch. Excuse me if I pronounced it incorrectly. It's got an SSD of 256 GB, screen 1920 by 1080 pixels, which will allow you to actually see whatever you're making in Figma. Processor, Intel Core i5, which will allow you to comfortably process whatever you're doing. And 8 GB of RAM, which will allow you to load your browser at least a little bit with tabs. Asus A516JA BQ512 15.6-inch. It's got SSD 256 GB, which is great, screen 1920 by 1080 pixels, and RAM is again at 8 GB. Great on a budget. Next model, Asus VivoBook 15 A512DA 15.6 inches. Here, we got the same SSD, 256 GB, screen 1920 by 1080 pixels, process Intel Core i3, now that depends on what generation it is, 8, 3, etc. RAM here is 6 GB, which is 2 GB lower than our 2 previous models. Also, I wanted to note that all links to these products are going to be in the description below. Lenovo IdeaPad. IdeaPad? Osteopath? 3. 15ARE05 15.6 inches.
Минут 10, 15, минут 5, 10, 5, 4, 5, 10, 5 утра.
I want to draw a bit more attention to this one. Firstly, the SSD here is also 256 GB, which allows us to work fast. It's got a good processor, AMD Ryzen 5. There were rumors and debates going on about AMD processors actually being better for design work than Intel. Intel processors are good for gaming, but it doesn't mean that now you have to choose strictly between AMD processor laptops. I had an Intel but switched to AMD over time. But again, this isn't an ad, so the choice is up to you. I want to note that in this laptop the matrix is good. It is IMP, which is really good with colors. There are different matrix options around. Choosing a laptop or a computer for design, making sure it's got IPS matrix is crucial. Matrix IPS, just like SSD disks, can be low quality, so don't go for the cheapest IPS matrix there is. Asus X509JA 15.6 inches, matrix TN 60Hz, which is a bit worse. Processor, Intel Core i5, SSD 256 GB, RAM 8 GB. And that's it for the budget models. Sheesh! Now, let's move to the medium price point. Those models are quite a bit more serious, but they also require a bigger budget. These are up to 100,000 rubles. Honor MagicBook 15-inch. The SSD here is 512 GB. SSD, just so you know, is in general the capacity of your computer. Here, it's 512 GB. Processor, Intel Core i5. Matrix IPS 60 Hz. What does that mean? The more hertz your laptop has, the smoother it works. In the market, you can see 144 Hz or 200 something Hz. You don't need that for design. Those are more for gaming. It increases the speed of your monitor, so you have a higher chance of winning in games. We don't need that. 60 Hz is more than enough, because we just need to move the mouse around the monitor. RAM here is 16 GB, which is just right for working with Figma and all the other programs we've talked about earlier. HP ProBook 650 G8 15.6 inches. Here, the matrix is also IPS 60 Hz. Processor, Intel Core i5, SSD also 512 GB. RAM also 16 GB. So, when choosing between this laptop or the previous one, you're really just choosing between 2 different visual designs because technically, they're the same. MacBook Air 13-inch 2020. Our lovely MacBook. Here we've got an SSD of 256 GB, which, to be honest, is too low for a laptop of such a price, but, you know, it's Apple, so... The processor here is Apple's M1. I want to note that I bought a MacBook, not Air, but Pro, but also with an M1 chip. And of course, the M1 chip really works wonders. Really, you can look it up on YouTube. What Apple did with this chip is just wow. This M1 chip is going to be more than enough for you to work with design. You could even consider getting an iMac. The screen here is more crisp. It's Retina, and it's really great. 2560 by 1600 pixels. The RAM here is 8 GB, but keep in mind that Apple and Mac OS is really well optimized, and here 8 gigs is just the same as 12 for any other regular laptop. Finish him! Let's cover top-tier models. We're going to be looking at the giants of the industry, real rocket ships. Price over $100K. Dell XPS 9500 15.6 inches, 2020. Here the SSD is more than a terabyte, which is great. Processor Intel Core i7, which is even more than great. The screen is 4K, which is 3840 by 2400 pixels. RAM is 16 GB. This screen is really going to make you feel things. It's still not Retina. Retina is even higher quality. But anyway, this screen is going to be wow for you. And 16 GB of RAM, which will allow you to make magic. Let's move on. Huawei MateBook X Pro 2021, 13.9 inches. To be honest, this diagonal is a little too small, but if you want to work remotely, here I want to draw your attention. I personally do travel sometimes, and I've got a MacBook, which is 13 inches, and it is very comfortable to take it around. It's like a small book, multifunctional, can accomplish different tasks. Why am I talking about this? Because 13.9 inches is not too comfortable to work with, especially on design, if that's what you want to make the focus of your life. So I would buy it as an additional second device to go with a big computer that you've got at home and to work on regularly. So when you travel and got gigs coming in for making landing pages, giving presentations and the like, you can make that happen while resting on the beach, drinking juice or whiskey, depends on what you prefer. The screen here is 3000 by 2000 pixels. The RAM is 16 GB and the SSD is 1 TB, which is amazing. You're probably going to say, wow, you're so extra talking about having two computers, one stationary and another to take around. I'm going to share with you one life hack. It's really simple. If you've got a good MacBook, 16-inch, 13-inch, or even just a regular laptop, you can buy an HDMI cable and a monitor. That's it. You get a table, put a laptop on it, and connect it to the monitor. And then you work, like that. When you need to travel somewhere, disconnect your HDMI, take your laptop, go travel. Here's your multifunctional device. Here it's important for the laptop to not be one of the cheap ones. Not from the low category, but from the medium or the higher ones that we've talked about. So, it's going to be enough for that monitor connection and not be too slow. Pretty cool, huh? HP Envy 15 EP0000 15-inch. SSD 1 TB. Graphics card GTX 1660 Ti, and it doesn't cost too much. The screen here is 4K, which is 3840 by 2160 pixels, and the RAM is 16 GB. Next, the Dell Latitude 157520 15-inch. SSD 1 TB, processor Intel Core i7, RAM a whole 32 GB. It's great when there's a lot of RAM. My computer also has got 32 GB of RAM, and it's enough for me, although After Effects is lagging a bit. After Effects eats a lot of a computer's resources, really, but it's needed for rendering, animation, etc. The screen here, as we can see, is 1920 by 1080 pixels. Next, MacBook Pro 15-inch, 16-inch. Here we see an SSD of 512 GB. Yeah, as always, not a lot, but you can use iCloud. The processor is the Apple M1 Pro, and this processor is just gonna blow your mind. My 13-inch MacBook just got the M1 chip, but now they've updated it, and you've got the M1 Pro, which is just amazing. Intel and AMD are two giants in the market, and no other processors were really able to compete. But now Apple is making their own processors, which are much better than Intel or AMD. The M1 Pro has just got transcendent characteristics. So this laptop, the MacBook 15-inch, on this new updated M1 Pro chip, with its 4K screen and RAM of 16 GB, is going to be much more than enough for you. If I didn't already have any computers now, and had some savings, and was sure that I was going to be making money on design, then I'd buy this laptop, plus a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. I'd just set up my MacBook, connect it by HDMI to a big, cool monitor, set up my keyboard and mouse, and just sit there like I had a whole iMac. Although, it's just a laptop connected to a monitor. It's all just a question of finances. Yo! But what's the difference between macOS and Windows laptops? You need to understand that macOS is more stable with all apps. MacBooks have amazing color reproduction. The MacBook, however, is not suitable for gaming. So if you think that you've got yourself a MacBook mostly to work, but sometimes, maybe 15 to 20% of the time, to game, well, that's when you're going to feel that pain. Because most trendy games, I don't know, like Battlefield, are going to work very badly. For the price of the MacBook, you can buy a decent Windows laptop. But with the new chips, it's getting really difficult for Windows to compete. But the choice is yours. Save some money and get a nice Windows laptop with good specs, or fork out some serious money for a shiny new MacBook. So, let's move on. Now let's move to the monitors. Since we've talked about that cool trick with the laptop monitor connection, you're probably wondering what kind of monitor you could get for your computer, stationary or for the laptop connection. You need to know that a computer monitor needs to be good at color reproduction because you really need it for design work. It's getting hot. Part 2. It's not also easy with monitors. Here, you've also got to choose the right matrix. VA matrix. A monitor with such a matrix is not ideal because colors here change depending on what angle you're looking at it from. So, just imagine you're creating a website layout or a poster and it changes when you move around the monitor, so you can't make a decision. Here's an example of how it might look. So, it's not cool. Don't buy that. Another type of matrix, TN plus film. This is the most old school and inexpensive technology. It's not particularly of the highest quality. Brightness, color reproduction, viewing angle, all of that is, well, mediocre. IPS. I personally have this. This is the most popular type of matrix of the medium and high price points. This technology has got amazing color range by special standards, but there are cheap IPS matrices around which do not give us the color range that we need for design making, so don't even consider a cheap IPS matrix. A comfortable monitor diagonal should be 20 to 27 inches. That is just optimal. Usually on the market, you can see 23.8 to 24.1 inches if I'm not wrong. That's the common range, and also 27 inch. I have a 27-inch monitor and a 33 or 34-inch one. I like working with two monitors. Welcome to hell. Here, we'll look at monitors of the highest value for a designer and their visual precision. Here, we'll also go over low, medium, and high price points. Now, I'll ask you to give this video a like, leave a comment saying what videos about design you'd like to see, and we'll definitely make the videos you ask us for. And please also hit the subscribe and bell buttons. Let's continue. Now, for the best monitors at the lowest price tier. Best budget monitor for working with Figma. 10 to 35,000 rubles. Acer CB24-2Y 23.8 inches. Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 75 Hz. Matte Full HD screen. LG 29 WP 60G B 29 inch. This is a very cool monitor. One of my close friends got one. It's a very long, ultra-wide monitor. Screen refresh rate 75 Hz. Screen 2K, which is 2560 by 1080 pixels. Screen is matte. Some people think that LG is one of the best brands for matrix. I've got two monitors, one LG and the other one, can you guess? Also LG. I really like its color reproduction, so when choosing a monitor, I'd really recommend considering an LG. Now let's move on and look at another brand and other size. AOC Q3279 VWF-D8 32 inches. Pretty big monitor. Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 75 Hz. Screen 2K, which is 2560 by 1440 pixels. Screen is matte. Not a bad model, would totally consider. Next is BenQ. BenQ is considered a powerful type of monitor. The model is BL242 OPT 24 inch. Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 75 Hz. Matte screen 2K. This model is also one to consider, but as you can see, its design with those sharp edges doesn't really look nice, although someone might like it, of course. You know how it is. Different strokes for different folks. Well, that's it for the lower tier. Sheesh. Let's move on to the medium price point. Models are more serious, but also more expensive. Under 100,000 rubles. Asus TUF Gaming VG 289Q, 28 inches. Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 60 Hz, matte 4K screen. This model's design is really cool. I like the edges and would totally consider getting one. BenQ, EW328OU, 32 inch. Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 60 Hz, matte 4K screen. Looks amazing. Cool stand. I really like how it looks and its quality is amazing. You should definitely look into buying it if you've got a budget big enough. Dell S2721DGF, 21 inches, 165 Hz, Matrix IPS, matte 2K screen. Dell is also a pretty good, decent brand, which definitely is high quality. LG 32UN880B, 31.5 inches, Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 61 Hz. Screen is 4K and it's also anti-glare. Wow, that's our first anti-glare model. Anyway, this model's also great. Like I've said before, LG is always a good option. And last but not least, ViewSonic VP3268 4K, 31.5 inches, Matrix IPS, screen refresh rate 75 Hz, matte screen 2K. And as always, when buying a monitor, ask the seller about all the specifications. This is crucial because they can seem mostly the same, but there are small, important differences. Keep in mind what we've talked about today. That way, you'll have a great shopping experience. Let's move on. Now, let's have a little Q&A time. Question: what diagonal and resolution should a monitor for work have? Look, the minimal diagonal should start from 27 inches. 27 is standard considering the aspect ratio is 16:9. If you get a smaller one, it's going to be less comfortable to work on. What type of matrix should a monitor or laptop have? Matrix IPS. Please choose only between IPS. It's amazing at color reproduction, and it's got a super wide viewing angle of 178 degrees. How to set your monitor at the right height and angle. That really affects your results, guys. It's important when buying a monitor to make sure that it's got such a feature so that you can tilt it at least a little bit. How to choose the right color reproduction and range for the monitor or laptop. sRGB perfectly suits both newbies and professionals. It's great for color range. Does the contrast of the laptops or monitor matter? Contrast of the laptop or monitor is like the cherry on top for a designer. The ratio between the darkest and brightest part affects your final result. How to protect your eyes when working with a laptop or monitor for long periods of time. Now, laptops and monitors have special technology that change the screen settings depending on what content you're watching. So it changes the brightness so that your eyes won't get tired. Summary of what you need to keep in mind when choosing a laptop or monitor. Take a screenshot. A diagonal, not smaller than 27 inches, with a ratio of 16:9. The bigger the screen, the easier it is to work with multiple windows. Pixel density. The higher it is, the smoother and crisper your screen is. Matrix IPS, the most popular type with great color reproduction. Adobe RGB, a palette that gives you adequate color reproduction. Ergonomics and health. The monitor needs to be adjustable with height and angle and have technologies that protect your eyes. Well, everything comes to an end, even this wonderful You Die of School presentation. Thank you to everyone who watched this video about how to choose a laptop and monitor to work with design. Please, leave a comment saying what video you would like our school to make next and what information you'd like me to share. Everything I know, I'm more than happy to pass on to you. So, come on! Please like this video, smash that subscribe and bell button to not miss our new videos about design. Thank you for watching. This has been Nikita Yudayev from Yudayev School. See you in the next video.